So how would you like to be expertly positioned in front of 25 to 100 of your ideal potential personal training clients every single 90 days? Well, in this video I'm going to show you exactly how that can be done using free talks, where you are in the room speaking to people and you are seen as the expert, where you're not competing with the noise of Facebook, Instagram, X and all the other social media platforms. It's just you. So we're going to break this down to 3 specific areas. First of all, your talk structure. I'm going to give you some guidelines on that, things that work really well. We're then going to talk about how you're going to promote your free talk, and then we'll finish off with a very simple 90-day plan. So let's dive into, first of all, the talk itself. So ideally your talk needs to be based upon information that you would normally be sharing with your clients if you were working with them on a one-to-one basis. Why is this important? Because if the information you share as part of your free talk is well received, then the chances are, because it's come from your main way of coaching and training people, then people are more likely to enjoy the service of working with you, because what you spoke about is basically what you do. So just bear that in mind. It needs to come from there. It doesn't want to be something completely abstract that you would never talk about when you're training clients. So let's get into the talk itself specifically then, the title and the structure. So first of all, the title needs to be benefit driven. So your title needs to be benefit driven and targeted as well. So in my case, it was busy professional women over the age of 40 wanting to lose 30 to 50 pounds. One of the talks that I gave was women, weight loss and weight training over 40. That was the main headline, and I've normally put some sort of a sub headline underneath that as well, but very targeted. So if somebody that was in that category read that flyer, that text, that email, they could very, very quickly identify and say, yep, they've self-selected themselves in there. So be very clear about who it is you want to actually work with. Let's now get into the structure of the talk itself. Now, a rookie mistake that I used to make, and I still see lots of people making, is when they give a talk, when they finish their talk, they end with, are there any questions? It's the worst thing you can do. Why? Because if you've given a really good presentation and you've built up some enthusiasm, you've built up some motivation, you've built up people's desire to want to take action, and then suddenly you say at the end of your talk, any questions? And somebody says something like, oh, can you tell me how many calories are in a piece of bacon or something like that? You're like, really? And all the energy, you can feel it being sucked out of the room. So rather than taking questions at the end, what I recommend is you take the questions right at the beginning. And I say that for a couple of reasons. One, I've just mentioned, and the second one is, if you take the questions up front, when you're giving your presentation, you can personalize your answers. So if, for example, Mary sat there and says, Eric, how many sessions of weight training should I be doing per week? I can make a note of that question. I want to get to that particular point in my talk, rather than me just saying, so my recommendation for weight training for women over 40 is that you do 3 to 4 sessions a week. I can now say something like, so when we talk about the recommendation for weight training for women, as you were asking earlier, Mary, I would be recommending 3 to 4 sessions per week. Can you see how that would land differently, as opposed to just, doling out the information? I can now personalize it by attaching it to a question that was asked earlier. And if you take all the questions up front, ideally you'll be able to answer them all, but personalize all your information to the audience in front of you. And another reason for asking for questions up front is more to do with you as the speaker. If you're not used to speaking publicly and you get a little bit nervous, by asking questions up front, what that does, it takes a spotlight off of you and it puts it on the audience that's there, and it allows them to feel a bit more comfortable as well. So those are the reasons why I would do that. And then when you finish your talk, you want to finish with a strong call to action. Don't just let it peter away. You want to finish with a strong call to action. And what I'd recommend is, and what I used to do, was up on the screen I would have my name, obviously, contact number, my mobile, and an email address, so they could contact me that way, which was quite effective. I'd also have a sheet of paper at the back of the room so they could write their details down as well if they wanted to do that. And if you're really switched on, you want to get brownie points on the sheet or the thing on the wall, the projector where your name and your email and contact details are. You could also have a freebie gift like, go here and download my top 5 exercises for toning your whole body. That way you actually get them on your database as well, so you can market to them at a later point. But you need to have some sort of definite call to action. Once you've made your finish of your talk, your call to action, you would end it by saying something like, great having you here. If you do have any other questions at all, then I'm going to be around for another 10-15 minutes. Feel free to come and ask me. Boom, you end the conversation. So for those people that want to ask more questions, then they've got the opportunity. For those people that just want to find out whether or not they actually, now they know you, whether or not they like you and trust you, they've got all the information they need. Those are the people that are more than likely, the ones that leave, to be contacting you. The ones that hang around at the end and want to ask lots of questions about how many calories in a piece of bacon, they're probably, some of them, not all, but they're probably your tire kickers, to be honest with you. Okay, so that's your talk. What about promoting your talk? You don't just want to create this thing and just have it sit in a vacuum somewhere. So the way that I used to get my talks out was by promoting them via what I call joint venture partners. So they could be fellow health professionals in your area. So I used to be very big on contacting my osteopath, podiatrist, and a physio. I used to work with them quite closely, and the health food shop as well. So basically, those would be the methods I would use to get my message out there to my ideal audience. And the thing you've got to think about is this: when you do a joint venture partnership with, let's say, for example, an osteopath, you already know the people on their database have spent good money to have osteopathy services. Therefore, you know that these people are not tire kickers. These people are what we call sometimes the worried well, people who will actually invest in their health and well-being. Now, when you approach these people, and we'll get onto the 90-day plan now, the third part of this video, which is the 90-day plan. When you go to approach these people, you need to make sure it's benefit driven for them. You don't just want to be saying, look, I want to send out an email to your database so I get lots of clients. It has to be of a benefit to your joint venture partner. Otherwise, they're just going to tell you to do one. So you need to just think through, what can you offer them? Are you going to offer them just a reciprocal thing? Will you promote something of theirs? Will there be some sort of financial remuneration? It's a great word, that, remuneration. Or is it going to be a case of, if somebody signs up, you remunerate them at that point? But you need to work out what's in it for your joint venture partner, because it needs to be a win-win situation. A win for the end recipient that's going to listen to your talk, a win for your JV partner, and a win for you. And I'd recommend that your win comes last on that list. Otherwise, if you put your win at the top of the list, it will come across as you being very, I want your list and I'm not prepared to help you. So you're going to, 90-day plan, you're going to create your talk. You're going to put together a list of people that you could send that information to, ideally 30 people or more you can send an email to, and that might include speaking to your gym manager as well if you're working a local gym. And your goal for the 90 days is to get 5 talks booked in over a 90-day period. And if you can speak to between 5 and 20 people per talk, you're going to be speaking to 25 to 100 people every 90 days. Now, this wouldn't be your only marketing plan. You'd have other things as well, but this could become a core part of how you go about attracting business. Now, if you're a bit stuck on a signature offer, which I mentioned earlier on, and you want some insights in how to create a signature offer, just comment the word below growth and I'll send you my free client growth engine blueprint, where you get some videos and you get some resources so you can start kickstarting that whole process. In the meantime, check out the next video that YouTube has recommended.